Hey everybody, Scout Crafter here. It's Mishmash Monday, and today we have some interesting stuff. I have something I've been sitting on for about 20 years I wanted to finally do, and this is a great time to do it. 150th anniversary. Let's go check it out. For today's Mishmash, I want to talk a little bit about history. Here in the United States, 150 years ago, we completed the Transcontinental Railroad. Now, basically, you had the East Coast and the West Coast, and they were developing. And the East Coast, you know, New York and all those areas, they had a railroad system already, and the West Coast had their railroad system around California and stuff, but there was the Rocky Mountains and the Continental Divide. It was a big area to get through, very difficult. And by wagon train, it would take 6 months to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. That was a tremendous hardship for a lot of people, and thousands of people lost their lives trying to make that trip. As a matter of fact, you know, one of the big, do you remember the Donner expedition, the Donner Party? They got trapped up in the mountains because they left a little bit late, and they were the weather was bad, and they wound up having a rough time up there. So the history is really amazing about that. So when I was out there, I did some exploring out in the West Coast. I love it out there, west of the Mississippi. And I happen to be traveling through Utah. Utah's a great state if you ever get a chance to go out there, but it's big and there's not a lot to, you know, I mean, you could drive literally 8 hours through the desert and not see another, you know, not see cars or anything. It's a big place, and you don't realize how big the U.S. is until you travel states like that. Well, I wanted to see the railroad, and I want to see that area, so I drove by there, and I was down there, and I visited some of the old ghost towns and things like that were down there, and I picked up a railroad spike off of an abandoned railroad line. Now, about 60-something miles northwest of Salt Lake City, Utah, which is a famous place and most people fly into, that's where the two railroads met. And back then, May 10th, I think it was, in 1869, the last spike of that joining railroads met. The East Coast and the West Coast now met, and I picked up a spike very close to there. And I got this about 20-something years ago, and I've been holding on to it. I said I always wanted to, you know, the last spike they drove was a golden spike, you know, and they did that for, you know, as kind of a tradition to show that what a great feat it was. And I always said when I got this spike, I said, one day I'm going to polish this up and make it nice. So I think that's what I want to do today. And let me show you what sparked this. Now, last month I was at the post office. I was mailing something, and I always look at what kind of stamps they have. And they have 150th anniversary commemorative stamps, and these are forever stamps. You can get them now. And it commemorates the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad, where the two trains met. First of all, you had the number 119, and over here you had the Jupiter, and those two met, and they put the you see that golden spike. So I thought it'd be pretty interesting, because when I got these stamps, I didn't even realize 150th anniversary. I remember the last one was 1969, was the 100th anniversary. So what I figured was, I said, you know, this would be a good time to do that spike. Okay, here we are at our post wire brush evaluation. Why do we do it? There's no reason. I always do it. And I just want to see what we're dealing with, you know, before we start. We got a little bit of a ding here. Tell you the truth, I never did a railroad spike before, so I'm kind of looking it over. Obviously, you know, to get this into a polished state is going to be very difficult because of all the, look at the deep gouges, and I guess from being underground, it must have been underground from here down, because from here up don't look so bad. So, but look at that. And all right, we'll see what we can do, you know. Worst comes to worst, we'll see. Okay, after using this disc here, this is one of them abrasive cut-off, like not a cut-off disc, but it's an abrasive disc. And we got it down to looking, you know, it took off most of the pits and everything. So we got it semi-flat. And now we're going to go to the flap disc. This is a 36 grit, I believe. Yeah, 36 grit. And we'll go with the flap disc and we'll work it. That should get rid of a lot of the scrape marks and stuff, but we're getting there. It's looking pretty good. Real quickly, if you've never owned one of these, this is an angle grinder, and they're super cheap. The handle screws off. You could screw it on either side if you're lefty or righty, and basically all it is, it's a small motor with an angle here. It's a gearbox in here, and there's a little button on top, and to put whatever disc you want on. It comes with a washer here. Looks like this. The washer goes on like that, and then you take whatever disc you want, you place it onto here, and it might look like it's not going to fit, but this little flange washer here that screws on has it will self-center it. So once it's in there and you push that little button, and that locks the gear, and then what you do is you it comes with a little wrench with little 2 prongs on it, and you can just give it a little turn, and that's on there. These are fantastic, and they're so cheap. You can pick them up for as little as $15 at Harbor Freight. But the better ones, you know, we're going to spend a little bit more, but they're still inexpensive. I prefer the paddle switch. This is a paddle switch here as compared to an on-off switch that might be here or somewhere else. So the paddle switch just makes it that much easier. It's about $3, $4 more when you're buying the machine. So you might look into that. If you don't have one of these, definitely pick one up, and then pick up an accessory pack. The accessory pack comes with, again, these are the cheap ones. Once you find out what you're going to use, then you get the better ones. But it comes with, you know, some cut-off wheels. These are the real thin cut-off wheels. These will cut through padlocks or whatever you have to. Comes with sanding discs and then the grading disc like I was using at first. So you pick up, for $20, you can't go wrong. Okay, now here we go. This is right after the 36 grit. You can see it took out all that, you know, all that unevenness, and it looks pretty good, right? I mean, I'm shocked myself. I'm telling you, angle grind is worth having if you don't have one. And now we're going to take it over to my my stationary belt sander and see if we can't get this down. But so far, I'm very happy with the way it's coming. Now you remember what the spike looked like when we first started working on it. And we're calling this project done. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this. I didn't get it to a complete mirror finish, but look at that, huh? I mean, remember what this looked like before. And the edges, I got the edges nice and straight, huh? I mean, just with that angle grinder, I'll tell you, if you don't have one of those, you need to go get one. It's a great thing for taking down. And look at the top here. Remember what that top looked like? Remember that big dent? So I'm pretty happy with this, and you know, again, thanks to the post office for putting a flame under my behind to get this thing doing, because for 20 years I've wanted to polish this thing out, and I'm really happy I did. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Let's see what else we got. Okay, next up on the mosh, got a good one for you, good story. So Sunday, I'm at Elephant's Trunk Flea Market, and you know, that's in Connecticut. And I've been going there now for, I guess, about 3 years that I discovered it. And I love the place. It's a great place if you ever get a chance to go up there. It's in New Milford, Connecticut every Sunday. So I'm there, and I always look for my favorite tool guy. There aren't too many people selling tools there, but this guy always has nice stuff, and he has a good eye for tools, and his prices are always great, so I always look for him. And I found him, and I saw him, and I said, "Hey, how are you, my friend?" I said, "I didn't see you last week." And he looks at me kind of funny, and I'm like, he goes, "Scoutcrafter?" Can you imagine that? I couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah. Anyway, great guy. We were talking, and his name is Phil. And he's like, "Yeah, I watch your channel, and I'm a subscriber, and I enjoy your content." And I was like, how amazing! What a small world. This tool community is really a small world. But if ever you get a chance to go there, I'll show you what Phil looks like. And he was there with his lovely wife, and I hope you pay him a visit, and really you'll enjoy it. He had a vise there today. Oh, if it's still there, I'll tell you, you're going to want to pick it up. He had a beautiful vise. I didn't get a picture of it, but really you would like this one. But here's what he looks like. Okay, this is Phil and his lovely wife. This is their little setup they have. Now, Phil drives, he has a white van, and on it there's a tool sign. I'm sorry I didn't get the whole sign, but you see what the sign looks like. So when you go there, just give a look for him. And one of the other vendors had this amazing, look at this. This is a half-scale 1953 Corvette go-kart. And it's full size. I mean, look at the cockpit. Anybody could fit in there. And it's got a little, like, I guess, 12 horsepower motor or something. I just thought this was the coolest thing ever. It's got, imagine putting, like, nice lights on here and a little bit of chrome accents and making it look like a small Corvette. How nice would that be? Anyway, he was selling this. The guy was selling this for about $700. And I just thought it was such an interesting piece there. Okay, last up on today's Mishmash is a challenge. We haven't had a challenge in a while. A couple people have been asking when we're going to do our next challenge. Well, it's here now. And, you know, it's a great way for us to improve our skills, you know, to get down in the shop, to have a common project that we can all get around. And I thought today for this challenge, we would have a month to do it. So it'll be due July 3rd. And it's going to have to do, because the 4th of July, obviously, is a big holiday for us here in the States. But I thought for everybody, what we could do is a clamp, a C clamp, or for my friends on the other side of the pond, a G clamp, and paint it up in the colors of your country. So some national pride here. And I'll show you what I mean. You might remember last year I did up this clamp in... this was it was right about 4th of July, and I wanted a red, white, and blue clamp, and I said, you know, wow, and I'm very happy with this. I love it. I hang it in my shop. I used it a bunch of times. I really like it. However, I could have did better, and you know, because I don't have any stars, any stripes. You know, it's red, white, and blue, but that could be France. It could be a lot of places. So, my challenge for all of us, for all the creators, is to come up with a clamp, a G or a C clamp. It really does look more like a G than a C clamp, but we call them C clamps here. And to do up a clamp in your national colors. So if you were obviously in Japan, it would be white with a red dot. If you're in Zimbabwe, it might be blue, green, gold. I don't know. But anyway, do up a clamp in the colors of your country. Obviously, the good old USA. There's gonna be a lot of competition for this with the red, white, and blue, and I'm telling you, I'm bringing out my A game. And I know probably before this video is over, 357 Magdad is probably already going to be starting something. So we got some tough competition here. So let's do up a clamp. You have 1 month, from June 3rd to July 3rd. So July 3rd is the due date, but I'll remind you a couple times since then, and we'll go through some of the things. But any kind of G or C clamp, and done in your colors. So I hope you enjoyed today's Mishmash, and remember that clamp contest is open to everybody. So we should all get in the shop. You got a month, and then the reason I gave it a month is because some of you might not have an extra clamp, which I can't understand. But if you don't, you have 2 weeks to get one, and then 2 weeks to finish it up. So 1 month from today. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in. Hope you have a nice day. Take care now. Bye-bye.